Well, hello again, and welcome to another amazing adventure with Be Well Together. And I use the word adventure intentionally because, holy moly, wait till you get a load of our guest this afternoon. A master world record adventurer and ocean pioneer, Chris Bertish. Chris is truly a phenom. He's an award-winning surfer. He won the Mavericks Big Wave Invitational in 2010, so that's right off the coast of California here. Big waves. In 2017, after more than half a decade of training, he completed the first solo unsupported stand-up paddleboard crossing the entire Atlantic Ocean. Like, he started in Africa and he ended in the Caribbean. This is 4,660 miles and it took him 93 days. So let me tell you something. If you want to learn a thing or two about isolation and lockdown success, this is it. This is sort of us peaking here at Be Well Together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. Chris has a whole presentation in a box for us today. So maybe we'll get questions at the end, maybe we won't, but really just like immerse yourself in this story. It's fantastic. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm Jody again, and I hope everyone enjoys the series that we're going to start today. So thanks everyone for having me. Thank you, Jody. Thanks, Natalie, and the whole team at Salesforce today, and the whole Be Well series. I think today we've got a special start for you, so I'm not going to say much more. I'm just going to start a little video, which is going to do a little introduction, and let's see if we can get this going this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a huge warm welcome to South African big wave surfer, SUP record breaker, and king of Stoke, Mr. Chris Bertish.
And the crowd would normally go wild, but unfortunately we're in the virtual world. So
I'm going wild.
Yeah, I can see Jody going wild. Some people are jumping up and down in their pajamas. The dogs are going mad. The chickens are going wild. So thanks very much, everyone, for having me in Asia Pacific and the whole Salesforce team all over the world listening in. Today, we've got something really special for you. It's called the 10 Tools for Isolation and Lockdown Success. This is normally a 15-tool, 3-hour workshop, but I've managed to distill it down into the 10 most primal tools and try and fit it into just under half an hour for you guys today. So make sure you got a pen and paper and something to write. There's a whole lot of content that I'm going to run through with you today, and I hope it's going to be super inspiring, super impactful, and it's going to help you become more positive, more productive, more efficient, more resilient, and help you get through these crazy, changing, and challenging times. I'm going to start with a little poem by a person called Haruki Arakawa, which is called The Storm, and I think it's very relevant for today and everything that we're going through. And it goes like this: when you get through the storm and the storm is over, you might not remember how you got through or how you even survived, but when you make it through the storm in one piece, you won't be the same person that walked in, and that's what the storm is all about. And I think we're all going through these really challenging and changing times, and it's about how we lean into it, how we move into a new space, and how we adapt on the fly in order to not only survive but to thrive through it. And I think I'm very fortunate that I've learned a lot of valuable tools on my journey, but I think it's really important just to be mindful of the fact that we're all in it together. We're all doing the best we can. We are operating out of weird and wonderful spaces at home, and we're trying to make it work with friends, with family that we're staying with pets, with kids, with I had chickens in the last presentation yesterday. Someone's dog was barking. Then a kid walked through one of the webinar meetings in one of my other talks. So everybody's just doing the best we can. And we are a lot more tolerant and a lot more accepting of everything, because I think this situation has made us even more human than ever before. And I think that's really important to remember, that we're all doing the best we can. No one's got it figured out. And we just, it's okay to be stressed. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be anxious. And I'm going to show you those 10 tools, which have got a really lot of positive feedback. And the objective is to be able to help you stay positive through these difficult times, that you can apply these 10 tools to not only this, but to anything in life. So here we go. Buckle up. We're just about to start on the 10 tools for isolation and lockdown success. And tool number 1 we start with is the power of gratitude. And I know that that's a interesting one to start with, but I've found this tool as the most powerful tool, as a grounding tool to be able to bring you back into a positive space. Why is that? Because gratitude is all about giving thanks for everything you do have and not focusing on what you don't have. And I think a lot of people forget how fortunate we are by having a lot of all the things that we have in our life right now. We're watching on these devices. We are checking in from our workplace, which means we have a job, we have a roof over our head, if we have food in our fridge, and we wake up in the morning and we have our mental health, we have our physical health, we have food in the fridge, we have a job to go to, we have transport, we are more well off and better, more well off than 95% of the people on this planet today. And I think that's enough to just have an attitude of gratitude and just be thankful for the things that we do have in our life that we often take for granted. And yes, it seems pretty crazy at the time and it seems really stressful, but things can always be worse. Believe me, I know. I've been in some of the most extreme environments known to man and any other human and creature on the planet. So operate out of a sense of gratitude. And when I was any time I get into a negative space, or anybody that gets into a negative space, just do yourself a favor. Write down all the things that you should be grateful for that we take for granted each and every day, just by being able to wake up with arms and legs that move, having a job, having not being in malnutrition, not having gone through war. We are all very fortunate and well off. And I always remember that. And even more so when I was on my transatlantic journey, I was raising money to be able to feed kids in Africa and pay for little operations to be able to put smiles back on little kids' faces that were born with a cleft palate and cleft lip. And when I was in that operation that day, spending the day with the doctors, watching these little faces get transformed and seeing that emotion on the face of a mother getting back their child that literally has nothing, and seeing the pure raw emotion of how it changed their life, because their life was being changed forever by just having a little face that works. That's when you realize how much we have and how much we take for granted, and all the things we do have, and to be able to make sure we live with gratitude in order to be able to stay positive and bring us back into a positive space. Number two is the tool of attitude and mindset. Attitude is the way you see the world, and it's all about how you see the world. But in a lot of ways, your attitude actually defines everything. And that's why people talk about attitude is altitude, attitude is everything, because it's about having, you can choose every single day how you want to approach your life, how you want to approach your world. The people that are pessimists choose to be negative. Negative is draining on everyone else around you. It's draining your own energy. It means you're low energy. You never actually get anything positive out of a negative situation and negative people. So always surround yourself with positive people. People aren't positive, and they're not optimists just by chance. They're optimists by choice. And that requires effort and consistency to be able to make sure that every single situation and every single thing that happens, you see the positive and the negative, you see the opportunity and the obstacle, and you remain and retain a positive mental attitude to be able to see everything. And if you operate with that, it'll help you get through most situations that most people really get stuck in. And everybody likes to be around positive people. So why on earth would you want to be negative when you can create a positive outcome when you have a positive attitude? The following is mindset. Mindset to me is incredibly valuable, only because it's the way you respond to the world. So attitude is how you see the world. And just remember, you have the choice when stimuli comes in to be able to label it good or bad. And that's just about choice in how you reprogram your mental state. When it comes to mindset, there are two different main mindsets that most people know. One is a fixed mindset, which means that people believe that they are fixed in their state, however they are born. If someone criticizes them, they think that they're not able to use that in a positive way. They try and avoid challenge. They're trying to avoid change. They apply a victim mentality. Whereas a proactive person and someone that operates with a growth mindset will always see feedback or criticism as something, how can I learn from that? How can I improve from that? And every single situation that happens to them, whether good or bad, they choose to see it as a positive and choose to be able to see, how can I grow from this? How can I learn from this? And how can I evolve and become a better person through this situation? And when we look at the situation that we're in at the moment, people with a growth mindset will look at it and go, oh, how can I learn a new skill through this environment that will help me improve better? How can I be better for myself? How can I be better for my family? How can I be better for my team? And that is all about mindset. The third most powerful tool is, this goes into exactly what I was talking about, and it gives you a little bit of a demo in regard to the difference between fixed and growth mindset. I'm sure the guys are going to be able to play a recording back, so you'll be able to take some notes from this as well. But we're going to go into the third tool, which is the power of connection. And I know that Natalie and I were talking about that a little bit earlier, and we're talking about the value and the power of connection. There's a term in Africa called Ubuntu, which means the power of community and the power of connection. It's one of the most powerful universal words that brings everyone together. But it's not only that you are connected to people around you and your community, you are connected to everything, to the universe, to nature, to your surroundings, to everything is connected. And I think a lot of people think that we're so isolated, and yes, we're not able to touch people, and I know the touch is a big part of it. But I think what's important to remember is that we're very blessed and very fortunate right now that we can connect through these incredible devices, that we can still have face communication, we can still hear people, we can still really connect with people on a very, very intimate level, which we were never able to do 20 years ago. But I think we need to be mindful of the fact that there are a lot of people that are more vulnerable out there, that are either live alone or they live by themselves or they're old. And we need to build into our routine and our structure each and every day to be able to connect with people that are less vulnerable and more vulnerable than us, and connect with people that that are living alone, the older people. And also make sure that if you are living in a space where you are not getting enough connection with the outside world and outside friends and family, you build that into your structure and your routine on a daily basis. And I think community is a big part of it. And I noticed, obviously out in the middle of the ocean, I had a satellite phone, but I only got to speak to my one routing agent and weather guy every sort of 10 to 14 days. And I really, really looked forward to that call more than anything. Sometimes I couldn't hear, the weather was bad. Sometimes the connection was bad. Sometimes he told me everything I didn't want to hear, but I was still happy because just hearing someone on the other side of the phone when you're thousands of miles from other people is it's a pretty incredible thing. And I think we all need to be mindful how much that does for our body, our mind, and the power of connection and what it does to our physiology and our mental state. So make sure you keep connected. But it's not only about being connected to people, it's also about being connected to nature and being connected to animals all around you. So if people live alone and they're by themselves, maybe this is the time to get a pet. Maybe it's the time to get a puppy or a parrot or a fish. This little creature, which I told Jody about earlier, is called Stripe. He's a pilot fish. And when I jumped over the side to be able to clean the bottom of my craft in the first week and a half while I was out there, I bumped into this curious little fellow. And a week later, I jumped down again and he was still there. And the amazing thing about that, this little guy became one of my greatest companions on my entire journey. And a lot of the fish came and went on the journey, but not Stripe. Stripe swam with me across the entire Atlantic Ocean. And that is a story of friendship and connection that I'm really not able to explain in such a short talk. So we'll carry on going. But I think a lot of the things that really are important when we talk about connection is also to be able to connect with friends and learn to laugh and smile through it all. And when we connect with friends, it's very easy to do that because you're connecting with other people and you can make light of situations where you have your little happy hour like Natalie was doing earlier, or other people are doing all over the world via Zoom and these devices. this picture is a great example. There's a picture of me with my little head sticking out of the hatch. If you're not able to see, I'd actually just found out that I had a leak in the craft and I was actually slowly sinking in the middle of the Atlantic. And I used the time to be able to actually try and fix the leak, even though it was really difficult because I could benefit in that space. But I also used that also to be able to interact and communicate and connect with the camera, to be able to do a little peekaboo out the box as if I was a jack out of the box. That kept me smiling through a really difficult time. And I think I learned the lesson that you've got to smile and laugh through all these kind of situations, because that will really help you get through a really difficult time. The next one is health and well-being. And I know this is really pertinent to the Be Well series. And there's that fly that I was trying to get out of the, the screen earlier. It's come back to haunt me. I couldn't get him. But this is what happens when we're at home and we're trying to make it work all over the world. These are the challenges that we face, and we just got to move through it and work through it the best we can. So health and well-being, I always break it down into exercise, nature, nutrition, and recovery. This is probably the most important one. If you want to keep in a positive mental state in any shape, way, or form, this is absolutely essential. I'm going to go through this really quickly because there's a lot of detail here. Exercise in whatever shape, way, or form you do it is something you have to build into your daily schedule and daily routine. The benefits of exercise, you know, there are a lot of people out there like, oh, I don't want to go for a run, or I can't cycle, or I can't do this, or that's okay. Pick your choice of different types of exercise. You can just go for a walk, go outside, whether it be doing yoga, sitting by a river, just going for some sort of watch the sunset and take a walk down with your pet. But the benefits of exercise on your mental capacity and your cognitive space is incredible. It lowers your stress levels, lowers your anxiety levels. It gives you more energy. It stops anxiety. It reduces the amount of emotional fatigue. Anybody that's going into depression, it's one of the best antidepressants. It's good for your physical health. It's good for your mental health. It basically is all encompassing. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but make sure you spend some time doing exercise, even if it's 15 to 20 minutes each and every day. The next thing is nature. Get outdoors in nature. The benefits of being in nature is now being prescribed by doctors. Exercise and nature. Getting outdoors in nature is now a prescription that doctors give in certain parts of the world, because it is the best thing for your mental state. It reduces stress. It calms your mindset. It is great for your stress levels and for your body, mind, and soul. So much so that they've now defined blue and green spaces. When I talk about blue and green spaces are any body of water. So if you surround yourself by going to a lake or a pond or any body of ocean, which is a lot more powerful, or you go into a green space is defined as any part of nature which has trees or grass or woodlands area or forest. If you can immerse yourself in nature, even if it's for 20 minutes each and every day, it has amazing effect on your psychology, from your anxiety levels. It's a calming recipe, and so much so that anybody that actually spends time in nature and in green and blue spaces, it actually has now been scientifically proved that it actually changes your whole beta patterns. It improves your immune system. It makes your immune system stronger. It makes your mental state stronger. Your clarity of thought is much better from a cognitive state. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but make sure exercise, out nature. And then the next thing, which we all know is incredibly valuable, is nutrition. We know what we put in is what we get out, but it's very easy in this time that we're experiencing. We're locked down at home. We're often not able to go out and shop and get the right kind of stuff. We often find that we're getting into little bad habits, watching too much Netflix, definitely binging on some of the wrong stuff that we probably shouldn't be eating. And I think it's very important to make sure that we remove or don't put in our fridge and in our household all the things that we know that we probably shouldn't be eating, so we don't get tempted by those little treats that we probably shouldn't be eating on a regular basis. But the point and the tip that I have for nutrition is eat natural, eat raw, eat organic, as much natural, healthy, balanced diet as you can. And then the last one is recovery. And I don't think a lot of people put as much detail and emphasis on this that is absolutely essential in order to continue to have your own well-being. Most people don't realize that recovery, as in sleep, is the only time your body gets a chance to repair and recover and restore. So if you are not getting enough sleep, the negative effects of sleep deprivation are incredible. Most people don't even know that you will die as a human being if you don't get sleep for 10 days. You'll die before you'll starve from food. Most people have no idea that that's actually a possibility, but they use sleep deprivation in the wars for torture. It makes a massive difference to the way your judgment, your immune system. I know that because when I was doing the Atlantic, I almost got sick numerous times because my immune system got low, because I wasn't getting enough sleep, I wasn't getting the right nutrition. So it definitely also affects your mental state and how you cognitively process information. It makes you a lot more emotional. So make sure you're getting enough sleep and good sleep. Otherwise, you'll notice it'll affect your decision-making process. It'll affect your emotions. It'll affect your decisions. It'll make you lethargic. You'll put on weight. So all these kind of things are absolutely essential. So I'm going to leave you with that and go into the fifth tool, which is one of my favorite tools, which is the power of fear and leaning into change. I'll tell you why I love the power of fear, because I've been dealing with fear all my life, and fear is one of the most powerful tools that I love and I live by, to be able to help enhance my focus, help me go into a more heightened state, to be able to move forward in the direction that I need to go, where I've minimized the risk. Wherever I can proceed with confidence and make sure that I can try and control as much of the outcome as possible. But the objective about using fear is using it in a positive way, because a lot of the things that we worry about and we fear about are in the future, or we worry about and make decisions from things in the past. And a little ancient Indian monk once told me a really important thing that I'll never forget. On the way to Nepal, I was on a little bus, and he said to me, "Chris, don't worry about the things in life you can't control if you can't control them. And don't worry about the things in life you can control if you can control them. And there goes everything you need to worry about." So the moral of that story is the things that you can't control, don't worry about, because you're not able to control them. And the things that you can control them, and do whatever you can to be able to make sure that they are taken care of. And what I've learned from that is that when you lean into fear, and this is a great example, surfing giant waves, I've had to lean into fear all my life, but fear is just an emotion like every other emotion. Once you know that it's an emotion, then you know that you can control it. So then it's just how you manage it, and you manage it and manipulate it to your advantage. And when you lean into fear, you'll realize half the things you do were never as scary as you thought they were going to be. And the more you do it, the more you shift your comfort zone. And that's when you start leaning into change more and more and more, which is what I did after winning the Mavericks event. I ended up doing the things that terrified me the most, which was to make a film, write a book, swim with sharks, and become a public speaker. So a lot of people don't like fear, they don't like change, but you'll find that the place where you grow the most as a human, the place where your greatest potential lies, is just past your fears, just past your comfort zone. So don't be afraid to go there, because that's where the magic happens. So lean into that. That's where really a lot of amazing things happen. Tool number 6 is the power of reflection. I know this is not something that most people would have thought of. I break down reflection into reflect, digest, challenge, and change, and grow. And the reason why I say that is I believe that this particular time that we're all experiencing is one of the greatest times to be able to stop, reset, reboot, rewire, and move forward in a different direction. It is the best reboot, reset time, I think, of our lives, because we never normally get a time to do that. We never get a time to stop. We're always too busy. But this pandemic has forced all of us to stop and reflect. And I think that's really important, to be able to reflect on everything in your life that's important, everything that's not important. Are you on the right track? Are you connected and aligned with your passions and your purpose? Are you connected and aligned with yourself and what's important to you in your life, in your family, in your friends, in your health, in your wealth, and how you want to move forward with your life? And this is the best time that you ever could have imagined, to be able to recess everything in your life and try and work out how you can move forward and the things you need to change. So when I say reflect, digest it, think about it, and then challenge yourself to be able to lean into learning a new skill. How can you change? How can you improve? How can you learn a new skill that you've never learned before? how can you try something that might benefit you that you've never had a chance to do? Maybe those old ways aren't working. Maybe you need to try some new ways. And this is probably the best time to do it because people are more tolerant and more accepting because everybody's going through it together and there's no right or wrong way. Everybody's just doing the best they can. So challenge yourself, accept that challenge and grow through it. And if you learn, if you don't succeed, don't consider it as a failure. Failure is only a failure if you make it twice. See yourself as, how can I learn from it as a foundation to be able to move and grow through it. This is a great example. In the beginning of my transatlantic, we got hit by these massive squalls, and I used to jump into my tiny little cabin because these giant squalls came with like 50 knots of wind, blinding rain, and torrential, like the most scary conditions you've ever seen. And I used to jump in, lock myself in my tiny little cabin and get battered by the storm for about like half an hour to an hour until the storm passed. But by the time I got through 3/4 of the journey, I became the squall rider. And I used to challenge myself to be able to use that as an opportunity to be able to try and break my speed record and see if I could get the most amount of distance in a 1 hour period. So I'd strap myself into my safety harness and I'd get my deck knife out, I'd strap it to my leg, and I was like Robinson Crusoe, and I was like, yeah, I'll take on the squalls and those bloody rain and big waves, and I'd be trying to take on the squalls and actually get the most amount of speed and distance. And it became one of the greatest blessings in disguise to be able to challenge myself and grow through that. And if I hadn't have done that, I probably would have run out of food by the time I got to the end because I wouldn't have had enough food to be able to get me there. The number 7 is patience, understanding, and letting go of what I call the neg. I think this is a great example for all of us right now. We've never in the world needed to be more patient, more understanding, and more tolerant of everyone around us, the situation around us, the conditions that we're in, our little home offices that we've got going on, our kids and parents and family members that are walking in and out of our space. It's chaotic. We're all doing the best we can, and sometimes we jump at people, we react incorrectly. Just remember that you have the ability to be able to catch yourself. Don't react. Just remember, catch yourself before you're going to say something that you really regret or you're going to react in a bad way, and stop and breathe. And the longer you take to react, the better you're going to respond to that situation, and the better the possible outcome. I think what I've learned from being out in the Atlantic is that I also got pushed into really difficult spaces, and I had to also be tolerant. I had to be accepting. And if you think that's not a face of someone that's been in cabin fever, you're 100% right. That's what it looks like when I've been going backwards towards Africa, even though I was meant to be going to the Caribbean because I got hit by a storm, and I was going backwards down my trail for 2 days. If you think you need a lot more patience, understanding, being at home with kids, try going backwards down your route the wrong way to Africa when you spent 60 days going the other way. But I learned through that I learned to let go of control, learned to let go of any sort of negativity that was holding me back. And I think that's one thing that we all need to learn and remember as humans is let go of control, let go of the things you're not able to control, let go of negative things, negative people in your life, negative thoughts. It doesn't serve you. So wherever you can, the process of letting go is probably one of the most liberating things you can possibly imagine. So let's go into the number 8, which is bite-sized chunks and the power of the start. But when I say bite-sized chunks, there's a famous saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? We often know it, one bite at a time. And sometimes when those goals and those challenges seem really big and overwhelming, just break it down into size and little bite-sized chunks that you can manage, that your mind can comprehend, so you can actually get through it. And I think the most important thing is just start. A lot of people are they're too focused about, the timing's right, this isn't perfect, it doesn't matter. Just start. The power of the start. Once you start, you build a foundation. Once you start, you build momentum. Once you start, you build progress. Once you start, you've got the foundation that you can grow and move forward on. Just start. And when we're talking about bite-sized, if I had to look at the overwhelming challenge of getting 7,500 kilometers to the other side of the Atlantic, especially when it took me 3 weeks just to get to Morocco, just to get to the Canary Islands, which should have taken me a week and a half, it was so overwhelming. Think of just getting to the end goal. So I broke my entire journey just into bite-sized chunks that my mind could grapple with and get my head around, and that helped me get through to the rest of the journey. Okay, number 9 is goals, treats, and treasures. So I always use treats and goals in everything that I do. So goals are all about, I use goals in everything. So micro goals, daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals. I break those goals down into really small compartments, right down to the point that like, I need to get through these 5 tasks today. Once I get through the first 2, I can take a break and go for lunch. Once I get through these, then I can go for a run. Right down to like, even though we're dealing with the most crazy times at the moment, it's important to tick off, just make a list of 3 or 5 things that you're going to get through your day. And then once you do that, then everything else is a whole lot easier. But it's really important to just break it down into those little goals. And then give yourself rewards every single time you do that. When you get into the treasures are macro rewards that keep you inspired and keep you going on your journey. So like as an example, when I did the transatlantic, this was getting to the halfway mark, and I gave myself a massive Mars bar, and I had 3 chocolates on my entire journey, and it was like a giant celebration. So use your treats and your treasures to be able to keep you going and keep you inspired. And then the last one, which is tool number 10, is resilience. When you have practiced the power of connection, when you have leaned into gratitude, when you have taken your attitude and your mindset to the next level, and you've leaned into fear, and you've adopted a can-do attitude, and you've used patience and tolerance, and you really leaned into exercise and well-being, and you've broken things down into bite-sized chunks, and you've used your goals, treats, and treasures, and you practice daily. It takes effort, it takes focus, it takes consistency. And when you adopt a can-do attitude, you persevere, and above all else, you never give up. You will acquire resilience. And when you receive and acquire resilience, then you can get through all the challenges that we have in life, and you can get through all the change that we're dealing with now, and you can literally get through anything, even what most people thought was impossible, for me crossing the Atlantic. But you guys can not only get through the challenges and change that you're dealing with, but you can get through literally anything to come. So stay positive, stay effective, stay efficient, stay resilient. And I hope these 10 tools were there to be able to help you get through a really difficult time. Thank you very much.
Wow. I promised you an energetic adventure. I believe we have delivered on that. Thank you so much, Chris. We'd love to have another talk with you at another time when we can have more questions, but I just want to thank you so much for your time. Everyone, wow, I don't even know how to top that. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to tell you to be happy and to be well, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.